Olara Otunnu, who is the chairman of the Democratic Alliance, or TDA, notes that the level of segregation and nepotism among leaders in President Museveni's leadership is not any different from the 1994 South Africa's apartheid regime. He thinks that Uganda at the moment is divided into two parts, where we have the first-class citizens who can afford the best schools and their children end up in universities, and the other part of the country which can't even register first grades. He says that he grew up in a bush school and was able to excel, but in today's regime, it's the reverse, as those in upcountry schools cannot compete with other children, especially in central and western Uganda.
And if we don't address this issue, we're heading for the fire next time. This is appalling. I'm ashamed to be in Uganda. This is not the land in which I grew up. This is not a land I want to lead. This is not a land in which I want my children to grow. All of us attended primary schools in these villages. I didn't attend primary school in Kampala. Bitek didn't go to primary school in Kampala. Archbishop Janan and the Wong went to the village schools. Professor Odonga didn't attend primary schools in Kampala. I can give you a long list of very eminent scholars, professors, and leaders who came from this zone of Uganda. Then they went to Dabilyango subsequently. Then they went to Kisubi and Buddha, Makerere, and Edinburgh. None of our children now in the village schools can move outside of that village.
Very true.
They are condemned to ignorance and death. This is the land of apartheid. Uganda is a fiction. It's not one country. It is two separate countries.
Otunnu says the regime in Uganda is specializing in ensuring that the country is divided financially, economically, and politically. Citing an example, most of the presidential candidates come from the same region, which is Western Uganda.
I'm shocked when I see newspapers celebrating these results and saying how fantastic the performance of this school and that school and the other people, when the largest segment of our country is cut off, is excluded from that celebration. When many schools and districts don't have a single first grade, not in P7, not in Senior 4. This is a national disgrace. I don't hear our leaders cry there's a scandal in our country. It is as if it's the most normal of situations. How can we celebrate that? How can we be jumping up and down on television and newspapers saying how wonderful the result, they got perfect score, when there are schools where a single school with 700 children, candidates, get 100% first grade. One school, and whole regions don't. This is a land of apartheid. This is a land of segregation. Uganda is a fiction. We don't have one country, we have two countries.
Winnie Lawoko, the candidate for Noya Woman MP, agrees with Dr. Olara Otunnu. Lawoko says that there is need for government to address the unequal resource allocation, especially in the education sector.
Now, the issue of education in the northern part, the greater north, I would say, of Uganda, needs to have an affirmative action to address the issues of unequal resources within the education sector. One, in history, it's very rare that government builds schools. We definitely know that most of the schools were built by religious bodies, either the Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, or the Islamic churches. And the government came and took over these places. Now, for an area which has been in disarray for 27 years, the government needs to come up with an affirmative action that sees that teachers who are able to address both mainstream education and the psychosocial healing of the people.